The most exhausting thing in life is being insincere, and one perfect day can give clues for a more perfect life. Don't wish me happiness. I don't expect to be happy, it's gotten beyond that somehow. Wish me courage and strength and a sense of humor. I will need them all. We tend not to choose the unknown, which might be a shock or a disappointment or simply a little difficult to cope with. And yet it is the unknown with all its disappointments and surprises that is the most enriching. Only love can be divided endlessly and still not diminish. To give without any reward or any notice has a special quality of its own. One can never pay in gratitude. One can only pay in kind somewhere else. In life, only when a tree has fallen can you take the measure of it. It is the same with a man. Too many people, too many demands, too much to do, competent, busy, hurrying people. It just isn't living at all. When the heart is flooded with love, there is no room in it for fear, for doubt, for hesitation. I do not believe that sheer suffering teaches. If suffering alone taught, all the world would be wise. Since everyone suffers, to suffering must be added mourning, understanding, patience, love, openness, and the willingness to remain vulnerable. Go with the pain. Let it take you. Open your palms and your body to the pain. It comes in waves like the tide, and you must be open as a vessel, lying on the beach, letting it fill you up and then retreating, leaving you empty and clear. It isn't for the moment you are struck that you need courage, but for that long uphill climb back to sanity and faith and security. The web of marriage is made by propinquity in the day to day, living side by side, looking outward in the same direction. It is woven in space and in time of the substance of life itself. Men kick friendship around like a football, but it doesn't seem to crack. Women treat it like glass and it goes to pieces. To me, there is something completely and satisfyingly restful in that stretch of sea and sand and sky. Complete peace, complete fulfillment. It is only framed in space that beauty blooms. Only in space are events and objects and people unique and significant and therefore beautiful. Grief can't be shared. Everyone carries it alone, his own burden in his own way. When one is out of touch with oneself, one cannot touch others. The shape of my life is, of course, determined by many things: my background and childhood, my mind and its education, my conscience and its pressures, my heart and its desires. The sea does not reward those who are too anxious, too greedy, or too impatient. One should lie empty, open, choiceless as a beach waiting for a gift from the sea. It is only in solitude that I ever find my own core. Fame is a kind of death because it rests life around the person in the public eye. Only when one is connected to one's inner core is one connected to others. And for me, the core, the inner spring, can best be found through solitude. A note of music gains significance from the silence on either side. Solitude, says the moon shell. Every person, especially every woman, should be alone sometime during the year, some part of each week and each day. It is nice to think how one can be recklessly lost in a daisy who is not afraid of pure space, that breathtaking, empty space of an open door. One must lose one's life in order to find it. Flying was a very tangible freedom in those days. It was beauty, adventure, discovery, the epitome of breaking into new worlds. The loneliness you get by the sea is personal and alive. It doesn't subdue you and make you feel abject. It's stimulating loneliness. There is no harvest for the heart alone. The seed of love must be eternally sown. Arranging a bowl of flowers in the morning can give a sense of quiet in a crowded day, like writing a poem or saying a prayer. A simple enough pleasure, surely, to have breakfast alone with one's husband. But how seldom married people in the midst of life achieve it. By and large, mothers and housewives are the only workers who do not have regular time off. They are the great vacationless class. But I want first of all, in fact, as an end to these other desires, to be at peace with myself, in our family and experience, was not finished, nor truly experienced, unless written down and shared with another. What a commentary on our civilization, when being alone is considered suspect, when one has to apologize for it, make excuses, hide the fact that one practices it, like a secret vice. People talk about love as though it were something you could give, like an armful of flowers, and a lot of people give love like that, just dump it down on top of you, a useless, strong-scented burden. Is there anything as horrible as starting on a trip? Once you're off, that's all right, but the last moments are earthquake and convulsion, and the feeling that you are a snail being pulled off your rock. It is terribly amusing how many different climates of feelings one can go through in one day. Women need solitude in order to find again the true essence of themselves. The best marriages, like the best lives, were both happy and unhappy. There was even a kind of necessary tension, a certain tautness between the partners that gave the marriage strength, like the tautness of a full sail. You went forward on it, for is it not possible that middle age can be looked upon as a period of second flowering, second growth, even a kind of second adolescence? It is true that society in general does not help one accept this interpretation of the second half of life. One cannot collect all the beautiful shells on the beach. One can collect only a few, and they are more beautiful if they are few. And Spencer Morrow Lindbergh, June 22, 1906, February 7th, 2001, closing parenthesis. In Englewood, New Jersey. Her father was Dwight Morrow, a partner in J.P. Morgan & Co., who became United States Ambassador to Mexico and United States Senator from New Jersey. Her mother, Elizabeth Cutter Morrow, was a poet and teacher, active in women's education, who served as acting president of her alma mater, Smith College, and was the second of 4 children. Her siblings were Elizabeth Reeve, Dwight, JRB, and Constance. Lindbergh was an American writer and aviatrix. She was the wife of decorated pioneer aviator Charles Lindbergh, with whom she made many exploratory flights. In 1930, became the first woman to receive a U.S. glider pilot license. Throughout the early 1930s, she served as radio operator and co-pilot to Charles on multiple exploratory flights and aerial surveys. Following the 1932 kidnapping and murder of their firstborn infant child, Anne and Charles moved to Europe in 1935 to escape the American press and hysteria surrounding the case, where their views shifted during the preliminary time of World War II towards an alleged sympathy for Nazi Germany and a concern for the United States' ability to compete with Germany in the war with their opposing air power. When they returned to America in 1939, the couple supported the Isolationist America First Committee before ultimately expressing public support for the U.S. war effort after the 1941 Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor and subsequent German declaration of war against the United States. After the war, she moved away from politics and wrote extensive poetry and nonfiction that helped the Lindberghs regain their reputation, which had been greatly damaged since the days leading up to the war. She authored the popular Gift from the Sea 1955 and became an inspirational figure for many American women. According to Publishers Weekly, the book was one of the top nonfiction bestsellers of the 1950s. After suffering a series of strokes throughout the 1990s that left her disoriented and disabled, Anne died in 2001 at the age of 94.